Hey, welcome to the Who's Left podcast, show about Indiana politics, history, and culture from an unapologetically leftist perspective. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and I'm broadcasting from Bloomington. Tonight, the second in a special series of roundtable discussions on topical issues affecting Hoosiers. Last week, in our first installment, we discussed the multi-front war on public education with school board candidates, policy experts, and activists. You can always go back and check that out at progressiveindiana.net. And next week, I'll be hosting a discussion about the movement for democratic socialism, what it is, what it isn't, and where it fits within the broader Democratic coalition. But tonight, we need to talk about immigration, Indiana's role as ground zero for ICE arrests in the Midwest, the program's roping local police into acting as federal agents, the deplorable facilities in our state used to house people, and the financial incentives meant to bribe us to look away, as well as the human toll of all of this. Some of the activists working to support affected families and rally Hoosiers to stand up for their immigrant neighbors are here with us tonight. Real quick before we start, please support this independent media project with a subscription at progressiveindiana.net. That is the best way to help us grow and sustain this work, but you can help in other ways by liking and sharing on social media, commenting, leaving reviews, providing feedback, and forwarding our content to your people. Get us with a paid subscription if you can, but mostly we just want you here in this community of Hoosiers dedicated to making the state and its government work for all of us, not just the elite few. Follow me on social media, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. The handle is whosleft.us, and on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, it is simply at Who's Left. Progressive Indiana Network's handle is the full spelled out name on most sites, but on Blue Sky and TikTok, it is PIN Indiana. Please help us grow with a follow wherever you're at. Tell the others. Let's build a radically democratic Indiana together. Now, at this time, let us welcome back to this space our friend Stuart Mora from the Indiana Organizing Project. Stuart, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much, Scott. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you back. One of these times we're going to have you on the show and we're going to talk about fun things, but unfortunately, every time Stuart comes around, we have to talk about sad things. We will also have Miguel Avila joining us shortly. He will be with us soon. But for now, I guess, Stuart, before we begin, really introduce yourself, maybe tell us briefly a bit about Indiana Organizing Project.
Yeah, my name is Stuart Mora. I am a community organizer. I started the Indiana Organizing Project March 1st of this year. I spent the last several years working at an immigration law firm, Munoz Legal, here in Indianapolis. Spent a lot of time working with detained immigrants and their families. This predates the current administration. So when the changes all took place, my background as an organizer, I told my wife I can't watch what is happening to people and to families and to children, and stand on the sidelines and still, raise my children with the values that we profess. And so I came back organizing as a volunteer last year, and then transitioned to full-time organizing in February. And so we support ICE detainees and their families throughout the state of Indiana, and we are leading the campaign to end ICE detention at Miami Correctional.
I want to talk about that. And last time you were here, it was May, and you had just finished up a big statewide day of action to protest the conditions at the Miami facility. And you've got another one coming up this coming weekend, and you're expecting turnout to be at least twice as much as last time.
Yeah, certainly, probably much larger than double. So back on May 16th, we had a statewide day of action. We had 29 coordinated actions across the state of Indiana. This time we have a weekend of public witness this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have 59 confirmed actions every corner of Indiana. To be frank, faith forward, really led by people of faith across the state, looking at the situation at Miami Correctional and with ICE detention around the country and saying, enough, this isn't who we are, this isn't our values, and we got to put a stop to it.
I'm glad you mentioned the faith aspect of it. I've talked about this and leading with faith with some of my guests on here on the show recently. And again, I'm not a person of faith necessarily myself, but I know enough to know in both the Old and the New Testaments, we are commanded to look after our immigrant neighbors.
Yeah, welcome the stranger is a pretty fundamental element of Scripture, and you'll hear it from from the Jewish community. You'll hear it across all of the various Christian denominations. I myself have been Catholic my whole life and hang out with some Quakers now, and it's a unifying principle of when someone comes into your home or comes into your community, you welcome them, you offer them hospitality, and certainly what we're seeing right now is the opposite of that.
So I guess let's talk about the reason, the purpose for this weekend of public witness. And primarily, I understand the focus of this weekend is to protest the conditions at the Miami Correctional Facility in north central Indiana. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to frame it a little bit different than saying protesting it. It was a real conversation amongst our leaders about what it is we're doing and why we're doing it, and we chose public witness as it was a very intentional choice of words. Public witness is a way of saying living out your faith or your values for other people to see, and so. One could call it a protest, but really I think of it as we are trying to say, we know how we believe that other people should be treated, whether they're immigrants or not. There is a base level of love and respect and humanity. We are all created in the image of our maker. And so weekend of public witness, we're very clear, like these are prayer vigils, they're teach-ins. We believe that our neighbors and our community members here in Indiana, if they know what is really happening, both at Miami Correctional and the way that families are being torn apart and children are being traumatized, we believe that our community does not stand for this. This is not our values. And so we're trying to engage people through these acts of public witness. We want to engage people. If somebody says, I disagree, we want them to come and talk to us, because our experience in talking to people, who may have voted for Donald Trump or consider themselves Republican, conservative, whatever, right, is that a lot of people don't really understand what is happening. It is just simply more complicated than illegals and legal immigrants. It's so much more gray. It's so much more complicated. And, as a state, I think one thing we can agree on is this is a state that really values family. And that's what we see, is families being torn apart and traumatized and in crisis. And it's just not what we're about.
I like that you reframed it that way. I think for some folks, protest is kind of a scary word. They hear protest and their brain goes to riot, even though that is far from the truth. Protest is a very, very large spectrum. But on your end, public witness is very much, I see what is happening here. I refuse to look away. This is not okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of, I'll share a story. This weekend, I live here in Indianapolis. I visited a family. They're really they live in my neighborhood. It is a U.S. citizen mom, 25 years old, 3 U.S. citizen children, including a newborn. Dad has lived here since he was a kid. He's been in ICE detention for over 6 months. He was a legal permanent resident, general manager of a laundromat. The family had no idea that he was at any risk of being detained. They were buying a house, right? Getting ready to have their 3rd kid. They are now, poor mom is just trying to hold it together, struggling to pay the bills. The newborn is now, welcome, Miguel.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear
Yes,
me?
we can. Miguel, welcome. You know what? Let's Stuart, go ahead and please finish your story, and then we will welcome Miguel in, and he can introduce himself. Yeah,
absolutely. So this family, you know, you got to imagine that, right? You're pregnant, you have 2 young children, you're about to have your third, and your husband has suddenly he's detained, and you're not sure when he's getting out or if he's ever getting out. And you're a U.S. citizen, right? Mom is a U.S. citizen. Children are U.S. citizens. Scott, we have a 4-year-old who's talking about killing himself.
oh my God.
We have a 5-year-old starting kindergarten, typically a joyous moment in a family, who is now going into therapy because when the teacher talks about family in kindergarten, he breaks down. And on top of this, a newborn baby that just needs to be loved. And that's what's actually happening. We talk to families here in Indiana and around the country every day. We're traumatizing the youngest, most vulnerable citizens of our country and members of our community, and for what, right? I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that our federal government is choosing to take people with legal status and make them quote unquote illegal, whether that's taking away TPS, whether that's detaining people who are going through the valid asylum process with valid asylum claims, or somebody like this who's a legal permanent resident, has been here since he was 13 years old, and they've chosen to try to deport this man and take him away from his family. For what? For what? Because they can, but that's not a good reason, because it's causing so much harm.
It's so gross. It's heartbreaking, those stories you're relaying about these kids and the way they're left to deal with it. You know, they're vulnerable. They're just young 4 and 5 years old, having to go through this. It's heartbreaking. And man, like we've known for decades that the Republican talk about being pro-family and pro-life, it was always a charade. It was always just politics. It was things they say to rile up certain elements of their base. But this really goes to show that they don't value family. They don't value life. They it's maddening. Miguel,
I think Miguel should talk about this. Miguel knows what ICE detention can mean for a family, so I pass it over to him.
Please, well, first of all, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miguel Avila. I am a Mexican immigrant. I've been living in Indiana for the past 22 years, and I had suffered firsthand the lashes of the broken immigration system. Yeah, I was incarcerated for 9 months,
Oh my God.
and it's terrifying. It's undescribable. There is not enough words to describe the tremendous levels of stress, anxiety, and you know a lot of mixed feelings that we suffer while in detention. Each case that you can talk to about detainees, and there is worse than the next one, and it's pretty traumatic. It's this bad. It's awful. It's awful. Those detention centers are nothing but modern concentration camps. I can tell you because I've been there. I've been there 9 months. 9 months in there. I got bail, and then they still hold me for 13 more days just because. Just because, yes. They want to break you morally, spiritually, physically. They want to break you down so you can just throw the towel and just sign something and, okay, yeah, run me out of here. And,
well, Miguel, I hesitate to ask you to talk about it because it sounds like this is a traumatic experience, and I don't want you to have to like relive it. So if you're not comfortable talking about these things, just say so and we can pivot. But where were you detained?
Yeah, indeed. It's kind of hard to talk about it, but it helps me to uh handle my my trauma. It's like facing my fears, and if I gotta let it out somehow, I gotta handle my emotions in a different way. I was detained at Clay County Jail. This is in Brazil, Indiana. Yeah, it's one of the worst. I don't know which one is the best, but there is no way to say which one is the best or worst. I know the worst is Miami Correctional Facility, but Clay is not that far behind. I was in there for 9.5 months with no sunlight, no fresh air, just artificial lights 24/7. You just lose track of time. You don't know if it's day, night, if it's Monday, if it's a Friday. It's just those are places are designed to break the strongest, even strongest will, the strongest human being. It's awful. Um, yeah, I understand what you say that it might be still probably not healthy for me to talk about it, but this is my way to cope with the aftermath of it. The more I talk about it, the more I let it out, and you know, helping people now, it helps me to heal from inside because I don't know if I ever gonna be recovered 100% because the trauma stays in there. I mean, it's something that you will never forget about it. Yeah.
And I hope that you're able to talk about it with a professional, hopefully. And I know it's hard for a lot of folks to access the help they need from a mental health professional. We certainly don't make it easy in our medical system, the way all the hoops you have to
Yeah.
jump through. And you said that you were at Clay County, and
Mhm.
that is a county level jail that is being used as an ICE detention facility. And one of the things that happens is that our local and county governments have entered into these 287G agreements with the federal
Mhm.
government to essentially act as agents of the feds. They act as ICE. They do the detaining for them, and it is supposed to be a financial boon for these local areas, and that's how it's sort of advertised. Like, listen, here's the cost of your humanity, but it's going to be several $1,000,000 for your local government that maybe is struggling under Mike Braun's property tax cuts. It's really a gross cycle that they've had us enter into here.
Um, you know, it is, and I really want to highlight, especially today, I want to highlight the folks down in Clark County. Do Something Southern Indiana is a civic organization down there. Um, they are Clark County is one of 5 counties in Indiana, 5 out of 92, that house ICE detainees in their county jail on a contract with probably with the U.S. Marshal Service. Um, they were at their budget hearing for their sheriff tonight. They have continued to push back on the use of their county jail as an ICE detention facility. It's about 60 beds that they use for ICE, give or take, in Clark County. And I can talk all day about the harm that is being caused through these agreements with county jails, or the 287G agreements, which are usually with police departments or sheriff's offices. Um, but I'm going to choose to focus on the community coming together and saying, the name of the campaign is not in our name, not in our name. Don't harm these families. Don't attack these children in our name. And so I want to lift up Do Something Southern Indiana as an example of what really we can do, and what the Miami Correctional Campaign is all about. Is that these are whether it's our state government with Miami Correctional or the county jails around the state, we have to say, this is our government, this is our community, and we do have a say, we do have power. And we're not going to allow the harm that is being caused, no matter how much money you want us to pay, or how much money you want to give us, excuse me.
I think Clark County, you mentioned, has been very much a hot spot for activity for ICE down there. They, I will link this in the show notes, but WAVE, a local television station in Louisville across the river there, reported last month that at least 28 people were arrested in an operation over just July 8th to 9th. And even more folks, I imagine, in surrounding that particular operation have been rounded up in that area. And I saw a really harrowing picture from Corridon, and there was a van. This was going around on social media, and there was a van abandoned by the side of the road that witnesses saw that ICE had pulled this over. They pulled 6 to 7 guys out of it, and left their vehicle there. Their lunches were still in it. They were obviously going to work. I could tell they were going to a roofing job. They had the cushion. If people know roofers, there's the cushion that you kneel on when you're up on the roof. Nailing in shingles. And I thought, obviously the human toll, those guys said goodbye to their wives or kids or whatever that morning on their way to work, like it was any other day, and they didn't come home, right? And then from a purely selfish economic perspective, like if you want to talk to people who are like, well, I don't care about these immigrants, right? Like whatever, this is America, get out. And you'll hear people that talk like that. Okay, well, that's a family that didn't get a roofing job done on their house that day. Maybe they were experiencing a leak. Maybe they're still experiencing a leak. And then you look at, you mentioned TPS and the revocation of that status. I think we just saw within the last several weeks, all the Haitian immigrants in the country had their temporary protected status revoked. And Indiana actually has a large Haitian community. And these are folks who were doing jobs that are largely going to go unfulfilled otherwise. Things like home health care. And, if these folks can't go to work,
and
you're going to find people aren't being taken care of.
Yeah, and I want to put a fine point on what TPS is. So temporary protected status, for those who may not know, is a legal status that gets renewed approximately every 2 years. And you cannot have more than one misdemeanor conviction on your record, no matter how long you have TPS, and maintain it, right? So by definition, not criminals, no pathway to become a legal permanent resident or a citizen without, there's a specific way to do it, but like you have to leave the country and come back. Not everybody does that. You have to get permission to do that. Generally speaking, not a pathway to residency or citizenship. 350,000 Haitians across the country had that status taken away. So these are legal immigrants to our country in our communities who have our federal government has decided we're going to take that away because it is safe in Haiti. You can go back to Haiti now. Anybody who knows anything about Haiti will tell you it is not a safe place to be. I just spoke with a Catholic priest who talked about 3 years ago that he had his church. They tried to kidnap him. He left. A friend went back to celebrate mass at his old church, and the gangs shot up the church during communion and killed 2 of the parishioners.
Oh my God!
Like it's just not a safe place, and there's no reason to take away the legal status. And now you've made quote unquote illegal immigrants, many of whom have U.S. citizen children, and you put them in this terrible spot. What are they supposed to do? It's honestly, it's cruel. It's cruel and
incredibly cruel,
unnecessary.
And
when we talk about ICE detention, that's who we're talking about putting in ICE detention.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought it back again. You're talking about American citizen children. These are American citizens that should have all the protections there. And I don't know if we're supposed to be pro-family and pro-life. You don't want to take the parents away from American citizen children. I don't know. I can't make sense out of it. Miguel, what do you think?
Well, this is really awful. I mean, I don't know what people need to see anymore, because this situation just got a control long time ago, and people just got desensitized. They're just so used to see like, oh, now they hit Minneapolis. Oh, now they on Chicago. Oh, which state is today? It's Indiana. Oh well, they must be trapping criminals, but it's not about trapping criminals anymore. It was never about getting arresting criminals. They've been designing this and expanding these detention centers for another reason. Because when they don't have enough immigrants to detain, who else are they gonna put in those
Yep.
places? You know who's next? They're gonna come up after homeless people, after people that needs to be living from social security, LGBT people, people that needs uh, uh, mental health. They're gonna try to keep their budget, those places full, rain or shine, because every single bed in there, it's money that they need the revenue. I mean, we just find out, everybody knows they just gave 20 million dollars more to ICE just to get tactical gear and stuff. As a matter of fact, 5 hours ago, while we're doing a vigil outside Miami Correctional Facility, they tasting riot gear in there. Did you hear that, Stuart? Those detonation, those bombs,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
those
Riot
are
control.
riot control things. Right there, while we're doing our vigil, and there is a a jet just like flying like as fast as possible around the perimeter, just with the loud engines, so we couldn't speak loud enough. It's just and nobody's
Yeah, that
doing
does not
anything
sound
about it.
like a coincidence, does it?
Yeah, no, it's not a coincidence. Nobody's doing nothing about it. Nobody.
Well, and you
Well,
mentioned the profit motive of it all. We talked about Clay County and we talked about Miami, and those are state-run facilities that are being reimbursed or funded by the money from the federal government. But a lot of these ICE facilities are run by private prison corporations, and they have an incentive, financial incentive, to lock up as many people as they can. And to your point, it's not just immigrants, right? They've got quotas that Stephen Miller has imposed. That's the Trump advisor, Stephen Miller, who's sort of his immigration czar, as it were, who oversees these sort of things. And they want a certain number of people arrested every day. And they said it first, oh, we're going to go after the worst of the worst. Well, it turns out there aren't that many violent criminals that were here illegally, and they need to keep arresting more and more. So they go down the line, and will just arrest anybody, criminal record or not. And to your point, Miguel, they don't have enough when they're arresting immigrants. Okay, well, let's move on. Homeless people. It is now illegal, essentially, to be homeless in Indiana. They just passed this in the last
yep.
section this year. The RFK and the Department of Health and Human Services, they are pushing to reinstitutionalize the disabled and not provide home and community-based care. This is where are they going to wind up? They're going to wind up in privately run facilities like these. I'm going to say it again and again, probably throughout tonight. It's gross. It's gross. Certain things, we shouldn't be doing these things anyway. We certainly shouldn't be doing them for profit.
Delaney Hall in the news quite a bit in New Jersey. I was talking with New Jersey organizers earlier. It's only Tuesday, so it was yesterday. 15-year contract with Geo Group, $1 billion. $1 billion contract in New Jersey. So it's 15 years. So the federal government either has to fill that or they're eating the money, right? But it's just, I say it because it really highlights how much money we are talking about. $1 billion to a private corporation over 15 years. Miguel, we haven't really gotten into talking about Miami Correctional, and I know you talk to detainees probably every day. Scott, I'm going to read something that I received yesterday from a Miami Correctional detainee.
Yeah, please.
It's just a paragraph. This gentleman, Omar, says, I was released from Miami Correctional Facility on August 16th, 2026, and I am a witness to the horrible conditions, lack of food, and lack of medical care. As a two-time kidney transplant patient and stroke survivor, Miami only cares about detainees signing voluntary departure forms, meaning voluntary deportation, and the money from your family's pocket for expensive commissary, food, phone, and tablet service. They provide detainees with razors to shave and are supposed to let detainees out of the cells after they collect and count all the razors, but they don't even collect them anymore. So everyone is just armed with blades. After lunch one day, a friend of mine from Palestine was stabbed by 3 people. He survived, but he's scared for his life. Corrections officers do blind man shakedowns, searches of cells for contraband. After shakedowns, most who have blades and ice pick like weapons just laugh. Stevie Wonder has a better chance of finding contraband. Food is horrible. Most of the time, I didn't even know what it was I was eating. No flavor, small servings, bologna sandwiches every day for dinner. Detainees who have no support system simply starve. I can go for hours on the nightmare that place is. After leaving Miami to go to another torture facility in Louisiana and then being deported to a country I left when I was a year and a half old, I'm now almost 50 with no medications because they didn't send any of the medications I had with me for anti-rejection from my kidney transplant. And now I'm in a country I know very little about. Keep up the protests and vigils. Help shut these torture facilities and concentration camps down. That is from a Miami Correctional Facility detainee sent yesterday.
I was
Miguel,
talking to my dad. Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, a couple weeks ago. My dad's a Republican, and I said that these places are concentration camps, and he, like brushes you off like, oh, that's not true. What's happening there is not a concentration camp, as if. And I think a lot of folks go to World War II, and their head, you say concentration camp, their head goes to Nazi death camp. But concentration camp is a spectrum, right? And Miguel, you can attest, these certainly qualify.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what I call it, the modern concentration camps. It's not gonna be obviously nothing copycat like equal like in the 1930s, 1940s. But they dress us in the same way, stripes. They don't tattoo your booking number anymore, but they give you a bracelet, plastic bracelet that you're not able to take anymore. So that's a modern way of mess up with your brain. They don't make you work to death like they used to, but they make our family work to death so they can provide for us. So the psychological torture is horrendous. It's horrendous because just we as human beings we need uh sunlight to develop our vitamin D and stuff, and just the lack of it just messes up with your head. I mean, places are designed to drive anybody crazy, even the strongest man, the strongest will. They just get breakdown in there.
Miguel, can you
And that's
talk
the
about
point,
what you're
right?
hearing from Miami correctional detainees? Like
Yeah,
what you've
well,
heard over the last couple months?
yes. As a matter of fact, on my way back from there, I just received a phone call from the wife of one of the detainees. Every time that his lawyer talked to him, or I think they even ACLU got in touch with him, but every time they call him, they retaliate to him really bad. He just been put in solitary right now just for no reason. Um, I got word that the CEOs, they just in the middle of the night, they just go randomly pepper spraying inside the cells just because they need to use their gear. They need to report that they're using it somehow. And how are they doing it? Just go randomly spraying them in the middle of the night just for no reason. because they need to get rid of that canister and then get a new one. And they got a report that they've been using that gear. And this is, I'm telling you, something is going, something's gonna happen. Really, something really bad is gonna happen in November. They're gonna probably do martial law or something else because I got a bad feeling about this.
I know it sounds crazy, Scott, but what he describes from the guards is not, for those of us that talk to detainees at Miami all the time, it is not crazy at all. Like, I had a detainee say, I I heard so many racial slurs from the guards that like they were making up slurs I had never heard before. Get the F out of this country, you effing monkeys. Like,
Yep,
you name it, they say it. We've heard so many reports, there's no way it's not true because we hear it all the time. Right, Miguel?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I talk to them. I talk in person with them, and people just tells me, hey, you know what? They calling us this and that. I mean, there is a guy praying on his knees, just praying to keep his mental health sane and stuff. And there is the female guard coming and like, get up, and I don't want to see you there. Next time I see you on your knees, I'm gonna put boiling water on your head. Stuff like just you know, it just they going putting people to the limit, push it to the limits.
Well,
They
we
come
saw
on.
that, they ICE has had so much money thrown at them,
Yep.
and given such a wide scope of operations and all the things that they're supposed to do, they're just hiring and hiring and hiring, and they'll take anybody that is willing to do this job. And the folks that want to do this sort of thing, they're not sending their best, right? And
No.
and then the training is also inadequate. Listen, ICE was never a great idea, but at least before Trump, there was theoretically rigorous training and things that these folks had to go through, hours and hours and hours and hours of training, such that they treated people with humanity, and they checked off the basic the checklist of things that they needed to do. And now they're basically turning people loose with little to no training and letting them have at it, basically. I understand. And we've seen this lack of humanity from agents on the streets, from Chicago, from Minnesota, and that's the public facing ones. We can only imagine the horrors that are taking place behind closed doors in facilities like Miami and others.
Yeah, and I want to lift up Christine Phillips from the Indianapolis Star, who's done some outstanding journalism and reporting on Miami Correctional. Um, had a big piece come out in July about how the Governor Braun's administration moved so quickly, and the staffing was so poor, and they were so determined to move forward on this contract, and how it fueled, what she called a medical crisis. Hundreds, if not thousands, of missed prescription doses. No insulin, no medical. Literally what they said was, yeah, we just didn't have any staff to pass out medication, just at all. And in the reporting, what came out is a nurse who had worked at Miami Correctional and has since left. And when she raised this with the higher ups at Miami Correctional, she was told you need to care less.
Wow.
Those are her words. You need to care less, was the response to, we can't provide medical care to the people housed in our facility. That's
And we
here. That is an Indiana State facility. It happened. Where none of us who talk to detainees are surprised, because we've known that there's no medical care there for going on a year now. And that's why it's part of why we've had 2 people die.
Yeah, I understand the ACLU has filed a lawsuit against. I don't know if they're suing the state or ICE or Miami facility specifically, but for this very issue, that they are denying folks medical care. The plaintiff in this particular suit had seizures and was not given proper seizure medication and
was not given any seizure medication.
yeah. And you know, the ACLU director called it quote cruel and unconstitutional, and said that the gentleman in question had gone nearly a year seizure free before the missed medication triggered that particular episode. And yeah, as you mentioned, 2 folks have suffered deaths in custody there, and those are the ones we know of.
That's right. I was about to mention that. Yeah.
And beyond that, like, we're seeing now that they're releasing people when they're not doing well, and if they die relatively soon after their release, well, that doesn't count toward their numbers. That's very cynical. I mean, the entire process is very cynical, but just something like that, like, it just, again, gross. It's the word of the day.
So I want so the reporting that was done by the Indianapolis Star and Christine Phillips, it has resulted in the governor finally having to say something publicly and to call for an investigation. For those of us who are campaigning on this, that is a positive sign. Okay, this is a 2-year contract. We are 1 year into the contract. While we would like to end ICE detention at Miami Correctional as soon as possible, if realistically the victory is that we prevent them from renewing this contract and furthering the harm and the trauma that is happening, I'd be happy to call that victory. And there is a real leverage point. And I say that because, look, we need more people involved in the campaign. As people hear these stories and recognize what's happening in our state, we need people to be involved and to be leaders. Scott, I can't tell you the number of people that have told me, we said 59 confirmed actions around the state. Several of them, maybe half of them, are led by people who have never done something like this. This is not an activist led, I'm just being honest. This is people of faith looking at what's going on and saying, enough, I have to do something, even though I've never done this kind of thing. And I feel very hopeful by seeing Hoosiers come together and stand up for our values. And you mentioned the litigation, the ACLU lawsuits. We should expect more litigation. That's what I would say. This idea that the state of Indiana is going to make a profit on this has never factored in the litigation costs and the settlements that are almost certainly forthcoming. Unfortunately, but that is the reality of the situation.
Well, like, again, for some folks, the humanity of it all doesn't resonate for whatever reason. They just want to look at the bottom line. They look at the numbers, and that's all they care about. And they think, oh, well, this is going to be good for our community. It's going to be federal money coming in, and we need it to expand our jail, right, or whatever. We can employ guards in our community, and those are good paying jobs or whatever. ICE agents, right? They're throwing bonus money at these guys left and right. It's economically stimulative, and just handling it in the most cynical way. But we're not thinking about things like the lawsuit costs of it all, and we're not thinking about the job losses. I understand that's one of the things is the right always tells you about. Oh, they're taking our jobs, right? Well, actually, no, not so fast. I think I saw an article last week, if I can find it, but there it is. It was in Fortune, not exactly a left-wing dirt rag, right? And what's happening is, I mentioned before, healthcare workers, something like 28% of all direct healthcare workers were immigrants as of 2022. Those jobs are disappearing, and that's actual care not being delivered to Americans, if you care about that. But also on the men's side, a lot of these jobs are women's jobs, as it were, as stereotypically think of them. And one of the things we talked about when we talked about this on my Sunday show the week that article came out, was that's part of Project 2025. Well, if these immigrant workers aren't in the workforce doing things like home care, child care, well, that burden is going to fall on American women who are going to be pushed back into the home and out of the workforce, which is what these far right Christian nationalists want. They want to undo the feminist movement, but also it is hurting men. Especially you think the construction jobs, right? There's these crews, largely Latino immigrants, and you will hear folks say, well, those jobs should be going to American workers. Well, when these folks are being deported, it is actually costing American jobs as well. I want to say it was, yes, for every 6 undocumented male workers pushed out of the local labor market, 1 U.S.-born male worker also loses his job. So Americans aren't taking these jobs when folks are being deported. They're actually losing more jobs. Like entire projects are being stalled because there aren't the workers to do these jobs. So entire projects are being canceled, and that affects the entire workforce surrounding these projects and all the folks around that as well. So again, just being perfectly cynical, you want to talk to your dad or your Uncle Ron or whoever who wants to get all the immigrants out of the country. It's hurting Americans too.
It's absolutely hurting Americans. How many of the people that I've seen deported were actually business owners employing other people?
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
Many.
I totally agree with you. I used to work in the food business industry I've been doing it for the past 15, 18 years. Just to give you an example, in one of the restaurants that I used to work, just 5 immigrants, six of them back of the house, all the cooks, the dishwasher guy. You cut that 50%, automatically 20 people that work front of the house, servers, bartenders, hostess, they lose their job. If the restaurant closes, 20 people loses their job just because they arrested 3 guys from back of the house. So with immigrants, instead of stealing anybody else's jobs, we're creating jobs too. And that doesn't count the payroll people, the accountant, you know, managers, stuff like that. So yeah, people has been drinking the Kool-Aid and just believing whatever they see in certain news chains, and people need to wake up. People needs to wake up and get off of the comfort zone, and start educating themselves, or like uh, open their eyes. I don't know what else they need to see. Like I'm saying, they're gonna come after pretty much everybody that does not agree with the system. That's the people that is gonna be filling those empty spaces at the detention centers. It's gonna be any excuse just because they don't agree with the new system. Anybody, doesn't matter if white, black, Asian, citizen, resident, everybody's gonna get arrested just because that's how dictatorship starts. And people is not realizing that.
There's that common refrain that it can't happen here, right? Well, I think we've seen a lot of things in the last 10 years happen here that we didn't think could happen, and these things don't happen all at once, right? It is very slow. You get used to it. You hear the metaphor of the frog in boiling water, right?
Yep.
And it's very much like that. We're getting accustomed to a lot of things that we shouldn't be comfortable being accustomed to, and just the very concept of these concentration camps in our midst, right? That's insane. If you were to tell somebody 30 years ago, 40 years ago, oh yeah, there's going to be concentration camps in America in 30 to 40 years. They get out of here. That can't happen here. Well, it's happening here.
Can we talk? I want to just quickly touch on the term concentration camp, because we've thrown it around pretty loosely here.
Yeah.
And I've thought a lot about this over the past year and a half. So concentration camp, by definition, is rounding up people without due process. I want to very clearly state that I don't believe that immigration courts are due process anymore. I do believe that they were, even if I disagreed with the decision here or there, prior to this current administration. Okay. The federal government, the Department of Justice, which is the executive branch, is who runs the immigration courts. They basically have fired any judge that they deem to be too lenient to immigrants, including many judges that we simply saw as fair or even slightly anti-immigrant. That's how far it has swung. They essentially exist as deportation machines at this point. If you talk to any immigration attorneys around the country, they will tell you the immigration courts are a farce at this point, and they are not an independent judiciary. So that is why when we say concentration camps, we're saying rounding up people without due process. Strategically, I choose not to use that language publicly because in America, when people hear concentration camps, they think Holocaust, Nazi death camps. And that is the world we live in. It is what it is. So I actually strategically choose not to use that, even though I think it is a proper description of what is happening. I had a communications professional talk about, as I was talking about this with her, and she said, show them, don't tell them. And that's why when I've been talking to you, Scott, like I share the stories, show them, don't tell them. Because when you say concentration camp, that person who you might be able to persuade may immediately go, ooh, this person's kind of out there. And I just think we always have to be conscious when we're organizing of the language we use and how do we approach people who disagree with us to show them that actually we do share values, and let's have a real conversation about what's happening, not focusing on where we disagree. But I do want to be really clear. The immigration courts are no longer due process, and we should not pretend that they are.
They're very much a rubber stamp. And I want to go back to something that you had mentioned. I don't know if it was you or Miguel that had brought it up, but the point being of the conditions inside of these places is to get folks to sign the deportation order, right? The purpose of and Miguel said torture camps is to make it so unbearable that you will just say, all right, I will go back to wherever you want to send me to. And in some cases, it's not back to a place. It is to some third place that this person has no connection to, which we haven't even talked about that. They're sending folks to places in Africa that these detainees have no connection to at all. And may not speak language.
Let's talk about that really quick because I have a story to share. It's going to be, you'll see it publicly in the Indianapolis Star soon, but I'm going to quickly highlight it. Family in Brownsburg, 5 U.S. citizen children between the ages of 9 and 24. Great family, really great family. Dad has been in the country since 2001. He's had withholding of removal from the Republic of Guinea, that's in West Africa, since 2007. So that means that he's here legally. He has no pathway, no simple pathway to gaining permanent residency or citizenship, but here legally, work permit, cannot be removed to Guinea. June, picked up out of nowhere, detained, not really sure what's going on, has some health problems, family, we're trying to help the family navigate. They're talking about what country he's going to be deported to. Is it Uganda? Is it Liberia? Is it Sierra Leone? He ends up being deported to Ghana. No notice to the family, no notice to him. He just, all of a sudden, he's on a plane to Ghana. Held in Ghana, in custody, not allowed to leave a house by the airport for a couple of days. He says that a U.S. officer told the Ghanaian officer, hold him for a couple of days and then he'll be passed on. Gets sent from Ghana to Guinea, the one country in the world that he is not legally allowed to be deported to, where he immediately, because he is afraid for his life, that's why he has withholding of removal, which is like asylum, immediately flees Guinea, is currently in Freetown, Sierra Leone, essentially homeless and stateless. This is a man who's raising his family in Brownsburg, Indiana, no criminal history. His kids are awesome. I don't know how they're holding it together. They're like rocks. And you know what he was doing when he was detained? Because he's a leader of his community. He was planning a 4th of July picnic for his community.
Oh my God.
His family
the most
said,
American thing somebody can do.
He is a patriot. That's what they said. He is a patriot. They had to stop and rethink. Like, I don't know how he feels now, but he certainly, prior to his detention and removal, was so proud of this country and so proud of his kids and the opportunities they have in this country. That's what we're doing. That is a perfect example what these third country removals actually look like.
Oh, geez. I want to talk about, we've brought up several times the American citizen children of these undocumented folks. And there are a lot of people in Indiana. Well, I don't know if there's a lot of them. There's enough to fit under a tent in Thorntown on the first weekend in August, who say that some of these American citizen children shouldn't be American citizens at all. Greg Bovino, the guy who was the keynote speaker at that little modern-day Klan rally that they had at the beginning of August, says they want to deport 100 million people. And let's talk about the logistics of that. What do they mean? They mean anybody whose family came over here after 1965 should have their citizenship revoked and be deported to other places in the world. That sounds like ethnic cleansing to me. Yeah. Miguel, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, well, this is just nonsense, I mean, why you want to get rid of people that they're descended from immigrants? This country was formed by immigrants, and whoever doesn't want to believe it, they need to read a little bit. They need to grab a book and start reading a story, or realize that in one way or the other, we all are descended from immigrants, unless you got the features of Geronimo, like features of Indian people. Like, they're the real owners of this place, and long time ago, the conquerors, they just tried to eradicate him and just segregate him, and sadly, history is just repeating itself again, and people is not realizing about that. It's just awful how anybody get distracted with social media and not seeing what they're not reading between lines what's going on. And it's not rocket science, it's just paying attention a little bit of your surrounding and what's happening.
It's very much been, you mentioned social media, it's very much been an intentional hacking operation of our minds to sort of set the people in our country against one another. And some of that is by domestic influences, some of that is by outside and foreign enemies that want to weaken America and see us attack each other, and it's working, unfortunately. I guess I want to come back to, before we wrap up, things this coming weekend's weekend of public witness. But before I get to that, I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Stuart, what am I not asking about?
I said this when I was on before, Scott, but I want to reiterate. Miguel touched on it. I'm clear that ICE detention facilities are for mostly for immigrants right now, and they're eventually for other groups of people. That's how this works. Whether that is U.S. citizens having their citizenship taken away, whether that is, as Micah Beckwith clearly wants to do, Muslims and trans people, whether that's homeless people or people with mental illness. And clearly it already is partially for political opponents. Um, and we just have to be really clear-eyed about this, and it's part of why I've been involved in organizing around the detention centers. Is that I'm very clear that at some point they want to put me in a detention center, they want to put Miguel in a detention center, they want to put you, Scott, in a detention center. I think this administration wants to move in the direction of Putin's Russia, and that's what they do. They put political opponents in detention camps, and they waste away there. I just think we have to continue to be clear-eyed about that. Even if you don't know any immigrants in your life, and I don't think that's true for many people, it's not just about the immigrants. It's also about fighting for ourselves.
It is, and that's another thing. I guess I've come to this a couple times tonight, is that however cynical you want to be, if you don't care about your immigrant neighbor, if you don't care about the rest of humanity, care about yourself, because these folks are our neighbors, and they are providing positive benefits to our communities economically. My God, think about your kids or grandkids, and their friends in school are being affected, are having their families taken away. That percolates out. We're seeing in Indiana that it just became state law this year where ICE or whatever federal agents have to be let into schools right now, and that can traumatize children of all sorts. These things affect the ripple effects, go out into our communities, and they touch places we would not have imagined. None of this stuff, none of these cases exist in isolation. Miguel, thoughts?
Yeah, it's just like I said, we need to. I think this is not just me thinking. I think most of our volunteers and activist partners think about is raising awareness and trying to re-educate people and just be aware of their surroundings, and let's be prepared for whatever is coming, because this is not gonna get soon any. It's not gonna get better any sooner. It's just gonna get uh worse before they start like improving at least a little bit. And we need to do something, every single one of us. It seems to be that we are more than there is more good people left in this world than the 1% of the oligarchy. So we definitely need to do something about it. We just need to come all together and join forces and start fighting back with claws and teeth. And I totally forget about this. If we have time before we wrap it up, may I share a letter that I got from one of the detainees?
Please, please.
I got this 2 weeks ago, and he is asking desperate. He gave me permission and everything to publish it. And he goes like this: From Gabriel Eugenio Olivares, to whom it might concern, dear lady or gentleman, I am writing to you because I want to tell you that I am very grateful for what you do for immigrants like me when need to help when we need the help of good people like you. I think it's referring to we as our organization. Well, first of all, I would like to share a little bit of my story with you because I have been in prison since 2003 for a crime I didn't commit. And I'd like you to know, I want to see if any organizations out there can help me. I was released from prison on June 4th, 2026. And since that day, I have been waiting for my deportation to my country, Argentina. On June 28th, the floor was wet and I felt and fractured my left shoulder. I asked, I asked for medical assistance and I was ignored. I've been waiting for a long time for my deportation or for medical intervention to alleviate my pain, and nothing happens. I think my case is proof of so many human rights violations in this prison. I need someone to please help me from the streets or from anywhere else. I can't do anything from here, and my shoulder just keep swelling and it hurts really bad. It's very big and it doesn't let me live in peace. I don't know why I haven't been deported yet. Please get medical attention. Thank you. Sincerely, Gabriel Olivares. This is just one case out of 748 so far.
Oh my God, just the inhumanity of it all. Just I have a hard time putting myself in the mindset of the guards and the folks implementing these policies that think this is okay. I can't put myself in that headspace.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a clear people have been dehumanized. They're not fully human. They're other. It's just clear that that's what's happened, and unfortunately, it's come from the top of the administration down to these prison guards. It's sad, but also we find hope in our community coming together and standing up for our values and pushing back against it. And I truly believe that, and I hope people come out and join us Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wherever you are in the state. There is something going on. Every corner, 59 unique actions around the state, prayer vigils, teach-ins, rallies. Come out and join us. Even if you've never done something like this, come out and join us and share your support and get involved.
Stuart, is there a like a landing page, a sort of a single website where folks can find the closest event to their area?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to put it in the show notes?
Yes, please.
Yep. Absolutely. We'll send it to you to put in the show notes, as well as a basic explainer on the campaign that people can understand more about Miami Correctional and what's happening there and why we're pushing back.
Okay, very good. And then, Miguel, you mentioned that that gentleman who sent the letter. Oh, we lost Miguel, but oh, there he is. He's back. That you're the partner organizations, and that Stuart, you're with Indiana Organizing Project, and I can't see Miguel's because my eyesight isn't so great. Indiana Aid,
There you go.
and can you maybe can you point people to some organizations in the state that are doing good work that maybe we should highlight, that also we could link to in the show notes, or just friends of yours that you want to give shout outs to who are doing great work there? You mentioned a couple throughout the show, Stuart.
Indiana Aid, for anyone who wants to be involved in having direct contact with detainees and supporting them and advocating for them. Great organization, all volunteer run. The Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance, doing great work in supporting the families, especially who are impacted by ICE detention. Do Something Southern Indiana. If you're down in the New Albany, Floyd County, Clark County area, please plug in with them. Fuerza Unida up in Fort Wayne. There's people all over the state. If nothing else, I'm easy to find. Find the Indiana Organizing Project. Reach out to me. I'll get you connected, get you plugged in. There's lots to do to support the detainees, their families, and to fight back against what's happening here in our state.
All right. Well, Stuart, it looks like somebody needs your attention, so I'm gonna let you run out. Yo, I see him. We got a cutie peeking there on the screen.
This is Franny. She wants to be she wants to be an internet celebrity. So here she is.
Nice.
All right. Thanks so much for having us on, Scott. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Stuart. Miguel, you still there? I heard you, but I don't see you.
I'm still here. I don't know what I did to my camera. I just cannot see myself, but I can hear you and I see you, but I don't see myself. Can you hear me?
All right. Well, that's okay. Are there any? Stuart mentioned a couple of great organizations that are out there doing work. Did he miss anybody that you wanted to shout out?
Oh God, yeah. It's just at the top of my head, Ayuya is one of the best allies we ever have. I mean, Ayuya, Coin, Cosecha, Freedom for Immigrants. I can Calor Humano. So many organizations. We're creating a coalition and supporting each other. I didn't really prepare myself for this, but I can just, if we can be in touch somehow, I can send you all the names and stuff, because we really getting a lot of participation from other organizations. in Indiana Aid, we are helping detainees when they get released too, to helping with the transportation, logistics and stuff. So we're like coordinated all the way from Kentucky to Chicago with several organizations, and we're relying on each other. Uh, it's a really, really good improvement. We're still working on it, trying to design everything, but we always say we're building the plane as we're flying because we didn't have time to design anything. But hey, we're doing what we can.
Well, thank you, Miguel, and you've got my email. So when
Yes.
you get a chance, send me that list, and I will add everything into the show notes because it sounds like there's throughout the state there are a lot of organizations out there doing great work, and we want to be able to put our folks here who are listening or watching tonight in touch with those organizations and encourage everybody to find an event close to them on this weekend's um, public witness event.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, Miguel, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Thank you for sharing your story and for all the work you're doing out there. We appreciate you.
Sure thing. Thank you, Scott, for having me over. Sorry I was a little late, but you know, we're on the go all the time.
Hey, listen, no need to apologize. You're out there doing the work. I'm just glad to have been able to speak with you tonight.
Awesome. Have a nice
All
evening.
right. Thank you so much. All right. So that was Miguel Avila and Stuart Mora. They are a couple organizers out there doing the work here in Indiana, helping out our immigrant communities who certainly need the help right now and could use your help as well. I will link to all those organizations they mentioned tonight in the show notes. Again, find an event close to you this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a statewide public weekend or a weekend of public witness. I will link to that as well. And for now, though, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. So, again, I wanted to thank Stuart and Miguel for joining us here tonight, and thank you for spending some time with us this evening. If you missed any part of tonight's show, it will be available immediately on Facebook and on YouTube. Full show notes and the podcast version will publish first thing in the morning at progressiveindiana.net. You can find all of my work there, as well as that of other left-leaning Hoosier voices. We can't do it without your support. Please consider contributing to Who's Left and the wider Progressive Indiana network with a paid subscription. If you're able, please help our immigrant neighbors and those organizations first. Only come to us if you got left over. Anyway, this independent media project relies solely on the generosity of kind patrons like you to make this information available for free to everybody. Again, that is at progressiveindiana.net. Follow us online at the full spelled out name on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Subscribe to our YouTube channel on Blue Sky and TikTok. We're at PIN Indiana. I personally will be back at 10:30 a.m. Sunday morning for Who's Left This Week, Indiana's only unapologetically progressive Sunday morning politics show, where two guests will join me to discuss the week's top Indiana stories, plus U.S. and international news through a Hoosier lens. That'll be on YouTube, Facebook Live, and on Substack Live on the Progressive Indiana Network channels. Again, you can follow me personally online at whosleft.us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads, at Who's Left on all the rest. Send me a direct message at any of those sites or email me at scott@whosleft.us. Finally, last ask tonight, forward the show to a friend and have them pass it on. Let's keep building this project and a truly democratic state, one conversation at a time. Until the next one, this has been the Who's Left podcast. I'm Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.